Thank you for watching Conscious Consumer Network. The live stream broadcast is free to view. You can pause and rewind live broadcasts to catch up, or view shows at a later date by accessing our free archives of all shows. Check out our broadcast guide to see what's on. You can show your support by donating to our network support fund. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or subscribe to the monthly newsletter for updates. We thank you for supporting free and independent media.
Hi, I'm Delilah. I'm 12 years old.
Hello, I'm Dustin. I'm 22. Not like that really matters.
Hi, I'm Gavin Sharkey, and I'm 15.
Hi, I'm Martin, and I am an age.
Hi, I'm Neil. I am 14, and this is Youth on Subjects of the World. And today we are going to be talking about education. So, education, it's a topic that I'm sure all of us are familiar on. It's a topic that is very important in our lives, as it can dictate how our lives are going to end up. Education in most cultures is considered extremely important to get a good job, because if you get a good education, you will get a good high paying job. So get good grades, stay in school, go to college, do all of this. These are things in quite a few cultures that are very, very strict, because parents want their children to succeed in life, and they think they need these things to succeed. So what do we think about education?
Well, it really depends on what kind of person you are. I mean, I'm homeschooled and I'm 12 and I'm taking courses, college level courses about Latin. I'm learning how to use the abacus, piano, I'm learning Spanish. So, and I'm doing all these things, and I'm taking college level courses when I'm 12.
I think education is very important, but I don't think the means of how you learn it is important. I mean, to educate yourself means to learn things you're interested in, and I'm at a high level in instruments, and I'm a decently high level in science, but education and school are not necessarily the same thing. Like, you can learn all the things you need to learn in life without ever setting foot in a school.
And yeah, it depends on the individual, because some people thrive in public school. I am not one of those people. I hate public school, but that's how I graduated. And looking back on it, I wish I had a different experience. I wish I had been homeschooled or unschooled or something. I think it would have made the world of difference, because I felt like every day going to school was like just trying to survive through my anxiety and all of the pressures around me. And I don't know, but some people thrive in that kind of situation, you know. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're being educated. Rather than it means they're good at adapting to playing the system, if you will.
So I think education is definitely, it's a very interesting topic to talk about because at least in the United States where I'm from, as you can probably tell by my accent, schooling, it's considered very, very important. You go to school, you get the grades. You don't go to school, you don't get the grades. You're not going to get a good job. You're going to end up on the streets. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. And a lot of times it's, oh, by the way, sorry if I keep touching the spot on my head. I have a little cut there and it's starting to itch. Education, it's almost ruled through fear in ways. Fear, it's not ruled through, I have a passion for this specific thing and I want to learn this. A lot of this, again, this isn't everybody. So don't go around saying, hey, but I love school. School is the best thing in the world. Good for you. I'm just saying that for this, I'm just saying that right now, in at least the United States, education for a lot of people is being ruled by fear of, do this, you're not going to get a job. And it almost doesn't really apply to parents. It doesn't really almost apply that much to children. It more applies to the parents. Parents' fear of their children not succeeding. For children, it can be fear, fear of bad grades. But when you look at a lot of them, they don't. Again, this isn't. Every child is like this. This is me saying some. You look at them and they don't really care about, oh, I care very much about getting this grade because this and this and this. A lot of times they're not really trying to make that connection because they're never given the chance to make that connection. They think this grade means I get reward. If I don't get this grade, I get punishment. So really, it's just, the problem is education should be an interesting, beneficial experience for children. They should learn to associate education with having fun in learning things, not with fear of punishment and eagerness to get that reward when they get there. Because a lot of people that you see, they don't really care that much about the grade itself, so what happens after.
Yeah, and kids, they actually, Martin, why don't you go while I collect my thoughts?
I think the fear of not getting good grades can create a major disconnect between parent and child. Like if you get it, if it's made such a big deal that you have to get these good grades to exceed and to succeed and for people to be proud of you, when you don't get it, you'll feel like you're not good enough. And that's kind of ridiculous because the grades don't mean a lot. Like you should be able to care about what you're learning and learn the things that apply to what you want to do with your life and not care about it only because you're worried of the consequences.
Right, and people think that you need a well-rounded education, or you need a well-rounded selection of classes so that you can learn about things that you may not have known about and you find that you really enjoy. But I find that it isn't even necessary to take individual classes that you don't even want to, because naturally you'll find, whether you're sitting at home or whether you're in school, you'll find what is interesting to you and you'll pursue that naturally with a curiosity. And the way that we do it now in public schools is you're assigned classes. You really don't have much choice in order to get, a well-rounded experience, but it really just causes a lot of frustration because so many kids are like, why do I have to learn this? Why am I here? I really could care less and I just want to leave, but you're not allowed to, and if you stop going to school, then they're going to force you to go by sending the truant officer to come get you. So it's kind of a system revolving around force.
One of the things that really bothers me is the suspension of freedom in schools. The problem is that Freedom, it's very important to me. I like to think of, either I'm not doing things that, oh, I'm just going around doing this, oh, I can do it because it's not a law. It's the idea of being independent and having the freedom to do what I want as long as it doesn't break a law in place by the United States. And the problem is that in school, it's very hush-hush. You don't really have freedom of speech. You don't, no, not really. You don't have freedom of speech in school. You will get detention. You will be suspended, and it will go on your record. You could get held back and sent there again. And just experiencing basic freedoms, that is a huge problem. And a lot of places in America, I'm going to be using America as the primary example, purely because I live here and I'm familiar with the system more than anywhere else. While it may not be specifically the law that you have to go to school in many places, I think I know at least one place. I think it's in Texas where it's the law. You have to go to school. That's not pretty much. That is suspending your American rights. That is suspending the rights to simply sit in a class and have somebody lecture you all day, taking away your day, taking away a very large part of your life. And that to me is it's pretty insane. Now you may say, but for a minute, let's say that children have to go to school. Let's just say children have to go to school. Not that it's the law that children have to go to school to learn. I still don't think children should have to go to school. Oh, children's brains aren't developed, blah, 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 blah. It really should be the child's freedom, because honestly, I'm very radical in my beliefs. I know some people definitely want to agree with me. I think suicide should be legal in the United States. If you're mentally unstable, you should definitely, you should seek help. But if you are mentally sound and you want to end your life, you should be able to end your life. You should have the freedom to dictate your own life. Kids don't even have the freedom to decide what to do with their day unless it's a weekend. And even if it isn't the law where you are, unfortunately, what you have to do is, the parents, they dictate exactly what you do. And honestly, this should be targeted more at parents than children, because in the end, the parents decide what happens, not the children.
The forcefulness of having your entire life dictated by someone else until you're 18 creates, you don't want to learn. You don't want to learn things that, like, you don't want to learn math or whatever. Like, unless every job has a little bit of math, right? Like, math isn't the most important subject in the world, but it's nice to, like, know how to set up problems if you need to. A lot of people don't even want to learn that because they're forced to do it. Like, if you're forced to continuously learn the same things, or if you're forced to do anything, you don't want to do it as much as you would if you had chosen to do it. It's not healthy to be told your entire life what to do, because then you're expecting to be told what to do by the time everyone expects you to make your own decisions.
That's another thing that really bothers me. It's that when you become an adult, you're expected to be able to make these decisions, and you'll hear a very common thing is, you're an adult, you should be able to blah, blah, blah. And really, you're really using that defense, you're using that attack when this person has been sent to a place where they're not allowed to make decisions for themselves their entire life. And just because they turned that way on the day, and just because it's the day that they were born and it's been 18 years since that happened, you think the day that happens, their brain has learned all that stuff on its own. Really? Do you really think that, why do you think there's a problem with people, with teenagers rebelling? It's because if there's nothing to rebel against, what the hell are they going to do? Oh, then they'll just go spray painting everything they see. They'll just do this and this and this. Really? Do you actually think that? There's a reason it's called rebelling. They're rebelling from a force. If there's nothing to rebel against, what are they going to do? You see even in sitcoms, you'll see people say, oh, if you ignore it, they won't do it. Like you'll see, the common sitcom, you'll see, oh, hello there, generic name. Generic name's dating a hooligan. I'm going to stop it. No, don't stop it. Then they won't date it. And then that's how it works. It's the exact same principle, yet people can't get it through their head that it works the same way for schools. They want to rebel against the authority. If there is no authority in place, they won't have anything to rebel against, and they won't make those bad decisions. The problem is their brains. So a common argument people will use, and I definitely agree with it because it's true, your brain isn't fully developed. I think it's until you're 25. I believe it's 25. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe it's 25. And yes, that's true. Your brain is not fully developed until you are 25 years old. Your brain is still growing. You're still developing decision-making functions, but your brain is like a muscle. You either use it or you lose it. You have to be able to use those decision-making capabilities. And another defense you might hear is, but I turned out fine, but I turned out fine. That doesn't mean you couldn't have turned out better. No offense. I'm not saying, hey, you're bad. You could have turned out better. I'm not saying that. I'm saying imagine if you're put in a perfect environment. This perfect environment does not exist. Granted, that perfect environment will never exist. But you can at least try to put yourself in an environment that is ideal realistically. Imagine how much more you would have learned and how much more you would have enjoyed learning. People associate things. You have to associate something with something. If you associate learning with boredom, being locked up in a classroom all day, say one thing and you get detention, what are you going to do? Do you think you're going to be eager to learn when you become an adult? Absolutely not.
Yeah, exactly. One of the big things that school does is it takes away that motivation to learn. So that it completely defeats the purpose. So you think the kid's going to go into school and they're going to learn all this stuff because they're in all these classes, but they don't remember any of it because they don't want to learn it. So it absolutely demolishes any motivation to learn, and these super structured environments where all that matters is a test. And that's why certain kids prevail in they can make it through this, but that's less because of what Dustin was saying. It's less because they're actually learning. It's just because that they can deal with these environments. Oh God, where am I going with this? But for me, being homeschooled, I still desire to learn. So I teach myself math and I do science. And since I've had the freedom to learn what I want, I've figured out that I'm a creative type. I like Photoshop. I like photography. So I've dedicated the past few years and will continue to learning just that. And that's one of the great things about homeschooling. It's not you spend the first 18 years of your life just learning what you have to learn in school and you can't do anything else. You have the freedom to do what you want. And that's great.
The common belief is that if you don't force children to do it, well, they're just not going to learn it. Well, that's not true. You don't have to force children to do it. A lot of children will learn things on their own, but there's a difference between forcing and encouraging. You can encourage people to learn things you think they might be interested or they might need to learn to succeed in life, but you don't without having to send them to school all week long for I don't even know how many hours, 8 to 3 or something. Because that's ridiculous. I don't understand why people don't just think, why don't we just encourage these people to learn instead of forcing them to learn the things that a lot of times don't have any play in society at all.
So public schools, I just want to say this right off the bat, they're not horrible, okay? Children are not all the same. But not every single children not every single children will thrive in their own environment because every person is different. Every person has things. I don't think destroying the public school system is the option. I think maybe implementing changes and saying the biggest thing, not even implementing changes, just the biggest thing is you have other options. Again, this isn't, oh, but look at this, look at this. We are, but this, it's not realistic. It's not realistic. We're not talking, at least yet, about realism. We're talking about the ideal environment for children to learn. Okay? So I'll bet all my money that we'll just go in the U.S., even in the just in the U.S., or even more than people in the U.S. I bet at least 10 children in the U.S. if they were probably 100 actually, 10 children, let's go 10, because I bet money on that. They would not be okay outside of the public school system. They thrive in there. Maybe even they don't thrive in there, but they would not do well outside of it. And that is good. We are not dissing on public schools saying they don't work for everybody. My option is the best option. We're saying that this option is an amazing, cool, great option for a large amount of children because, you know, we are designed to want to learn. And, you know, just so you trust me, I'll debunk an argument that people like to say. They say, well, look at how we've been doing for millions and millions of years. We used to be fine without schools. I don't like to use that argument because that doesn't make much sense to me. Because that's what I believe what that's called is an appeal to, I don't know if it's an appeal to nature logical fallacy or it's an appeal to tradition logical fallacy. Not sure which one it was. Doesn't matter. There's the word fallacy in there because we designed it so we could be better. We designed it so we could try to be much better. So just because it was in the past and we did it in the past doesn't exactly make it good. We might have designed things to be better. Now, the problem is the school system could have been corrupted. I mean, it probably was corrupted. I mean, look at it now. I believe so. Another alternative option is Sudbury schooling. It's like unschooling if you're familiar with the concept, but in a school, but in an environment you can go socialize with other children. There's a school meeting. There's a judicial committee, all run by children. Everybody has an equal vote, including the staff members have an equal vote. Notice I didn't call them teachers, but maybe we'll go into that later. So I go to a Sudbury school, and what happened there was that the staff member there, he said that, and I might be wrong because he told me this a while ago, he said that when he was in public school, his teacher told him, or I think this was maybe somebody who's helping with the school, but one of the people said that they did not have the freedom of speech in the school. A teacher told him that. He said, you do not have the freedom of speech in this school. You do not have it. When you are here, you do not have freedom of speech. And it is true. Another friend that went to that same school, he told me that he was in PE. And he asked, can I have a drink of water? The person said, the teacher said, are you disabled? And he said, no, and he said, I'm thirsty. No, I'm thirsty. No, you can't have a drink of water. Are you kidding me? Another thing that I find extremely irritating is they don't have control over their bodily functions. Are you insane? Oh, can I please drain my bladder? Can I go poop? Are you seriously? You have to go up and ask, oh, can I use the bathroom? Oh, no. I mean, that's humiliating. It's just, it may not be humiliating for some people because, oh, I'm used to it now, but you shouldn't have to disclose that. You should just say, I need to go to the bathroom. It's insane. You really have to ask permission for that. And even if there are problems with that, it's the mindset. The mindset is children shouldn't have control over the most basic of their thoughts.
Yeah. The thing about that is that the work world is not like that. You know, you go to the bathroom when you want. You can walk out if you want. I mean, there's going to be consequences, but you have those options, and no one's going to stop you. You just have to deal with what that means. And school isn't like that because they force you to be there. They force you to sit down. They force you to shut up. You can't talk with your friends. You can't talk with anyone around you. You can't ask the questions that you need, because if you're in a classroom of 30 kids, you know, not everyone can ask all the questions that they need. There's simply not enough time for the designed curriculum. So it's really, yeah, and not only that, but the system itself is outdated, I feel like, because it's designed with manufacturing in mind. I was watching a video with John Taylor Gatto, I think, not long ago, like a 5-hour interview, and he talked about the birth of the modern school system and all of that. And he said that these basically elites designed the school system using the philosophy of Darwinism, whatever, and to breed the superior kids and to keep everyone else, aka you and me, dulled down and only good for one thing, which is working in manufacturing jobs, corporations, and that kind of thing. And it's outdated, quite frankly, because now we have the internet at our disposal. We have unlimited information. We can learn anything we want at the click of a button, and that releases our potential to be entrepreneurs, to be creatives, to be scientists, to be intellects. We can conduct our own experiments. We can collaborate with anyone around the world on any kind of project. And where the manufacturing system just doesn't work for us. We need our voices to be heard, and we need to have the independence to do what we want in this day and age.
So, sorry. You can go.
If you look at a classroom from today and one from 150 years ago, they're still basically the same. And if school would just change that, I feel like no one else, well, if they would find a way to change it and make sure everyone could learn freely, and everything would be better.
So, a really good point, I brought up about, asking to go to the bathroom. There's a little chat that we have where we can talk. Martin brought up a very good point. They leave, because, they do that because they're afraid they might leave. And then we talked and, because he was just playing devil's advocate, he knows, we know that the reason the reason I wanted to address that is because that's an argument that people will make, an actual argument that people make. That's why we do it. Well, wait a minute. Why? How could you know that? How can giving them permission to go to the bathroom make a difference? Just because you're saying, okay, walk out the door, or they walk out the door. Either way, they're walking out the door. What the hell does it matter? So they're walking out the door either way. They're going into the hallway, so to speak. That doesn't change where they're going to end up. And also, again, they want to leave because they are trapped. The only reason they want to leave is because they are trapped there. And I'm not arguing against Martin because he was just playing devil's advocate. He knew the fallacy in that argument, which is they leave because they are trapped and they should not be trapped there. I love freedom. I love freedom of speech. I should have the freedom to do whatever the heck I want, as long as it doesn't break a law. It doesn't harm anybody else. Doesn't harm this society as a whole. So I just think that, like Delilah and Dustin just said, it's the whole thing. It's outdated. Just because the system needs an update doesn't mean where we are just saying that I don't like school, therefore I'm going to complain about school on the internet. We believe that it needs to be updated. Things need to be updated. Your computer or phone that you're watching this on, or tablet, needs to be updated to continue functioning. Society has been needed to update. There's no difference. Don't think, and a lot of people, so, let's reference a video. Don't stay in school. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. If you haven't seen it, I mean, which rock are you living under? It's by a YouTuber called Boy in a Band, one word. And a lot of people, when they see that video, they think, this guy, he's emo, he's all just complaining about school. I actually watched the YouTube channel. He's a very intelligent person. And I highly recommend watching a video called You Don't Have to Stay in School. It's 20 minutes long. If you don't have the time, I understand. That is an amazing video. I love that video so much. So, and it's not a rap video. It's not a 20-minute long rap video. He talks. And he brings up a lot of interesting points. I'm talking about the rap video that probably you've seen. Like how you're taught about history, so much about history, but you're not taught about what's happening right now. You're not taught how to vote. That really rubbed me the wrong way, because the problem is that when you're voting, first of all, politics, again, we use America as an example. I've already justified this. America, it's so complicated because you really don't know who you're voting for. So many people are just two-faced liars, and some people may be okay, but probably they're okay half of the way. This is a Democrat, this is a Republican. That's not how it works. That's how you think, Democrats and Republicans. Democrats have these values, Republicans have these values. Boom. Not how it works. You didn't learn about the parties and their platforms, but only really because the only reason they really follow their parties is because the parties are the ones that fund their campaigns. And that's how crony capitalism gets involved, where lobbying, I freaking hate lobbying. I swear lobbying is horrible, because if you have money, you control. I don't think it's ever going to be a problem. I don't think it's ever going to be solved. If you have money, you control the system. And this needs to be taught, because if we all know about it, guess what happens if we all know about it? It stops becoming a secret. Okay? Right now it is a secret that there's shady backdoor stuff. If everybody gets taught things, everybody is encouraged to learn their own things, because schools can't teach everything. Even if schools are a good system, they can't teach everything. If they're encouraged to learn and they associate learning with happiness and having fun and a good time, they're going to go out and learn the things they're interested in. We are going to have much more intelligent people walking around the streets among us and spreading awareness. When we have awareness is something that's so great. We don't even have to do anything. If you know something, if everybody knows a thing, we don't even need to act upon it. It's just something bad happening. All of us know about it, because the whole world can just lift a finger and it's gone if everybody knows about it. And that's the problem. Nobody knows. Most people just vote along party lines their parents did.
To acknowledge a question from the audience, I went to school from the very beginning. Well, not the very, very beginning. I was in Waldorf education for about a year. And then after that, I went to public school and I graduated that way. And I would say, I think we should all talk about our schooling experiences just to get those perspectives. But basically my plan now that I've been graduated a few years is to rekindle my interest in learning, because just trying to get through the school system, it was like a survival. It was like survival of the fittest. And I ended up opting out of high school. I went to an alternative school. It was still public school, but it was a much smaller version of it. And there were some things taken away, like we didn't have homework, but we also didn't receive a very good curriculum to study. And yeah, that was basically my schooling experience in a nutshell. maybe we could all talk about that.
Yeah, so, okay, you can go ahead, Gavin. Sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say, I also had a schooling experience, well, kind of. I was in school till the end of the fourth grade, so it's a normal public school. But the thing about, like, up until the fourth grade, those grades, it's just all the simple stuff, and I don't remember much of it, and there wasn't much to it. At the end of my fourth grade, I was pulled out of school. In the first year of our schooling, like, we were still kind of new to homeschooling, so we did a lot of the curriculum. Like, we had a curriculum book that you followed, and then after that, it kind of just got really loose. Like, we did our own thing. So yeah, my schooling experience was very minimal, but I was in it for some time. That's it.
So my schooling experience, it was very brief, and it was just in homeschooling. So a lot of people, they would think that homeschooling is, for religious extremists to teach their kids about the Bible. No, that's some, yeah, the stereotype has to come from somewhere, but no, I was homeschooled as in my mom sat me down, she taught me things, and I was very young. I don't remember my age when it happened. I was very young. It was for a very short time, and I hated it more than anything else in the world. I rejected it like nothing else. I hated it so much, and it was for such a short time too. But I just remember sitting there just like dead in my mind, and I'm a person who likes to talk a lot. I'm trying to find a better word for that. So I like to talk a lot. I will argue with anybody. You want to argue, call me up. I will argue with you. So the problem is that if I went to public school and I didn't really have the freedom of speech, because try to imagine correcting a teacher. Can you try to imagine how that would work out? Just sit there and try to imagine it. Oh no, you're wrong. This is right. Yeah, I'm sure that will turn out very well for you. Yeah, it's not going to work out very well if you correct a teacher. So, or if you try to have a debate with them. No, okay, you're suspended, you're expelled, you have detention, blah, 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 blah. But my first experience with unschooling, or some people like to call it world schooling, it doesn't matter what you call it. It's world schooling, I guess. Maybe they're different. I think they're different. Maybe they're not. I don't know. But I'll just do unschooling because that's when I first learned the term. So, I was basically, average kid. I'm probably actually even more free than your average kid. But, I still had to ask, can I do this? Can I watch television? Can I go on I remember the most popular thing was asking, can I go on Webkins? I was young, so I like to go on Webkins. I don't know if anybody remembers that. But I remember we went to a convention for unschooling. I don't remember what it's called, but it was in somewhere in Texas. It was a long time ago. And somewhere during the middle of the convention, my parents, they said, we're going to try something out. Basically, they told us what unschooling is. They didn't really say, this is unschooling. They said, we're going to unschool you now. They said, you can do whatever you want. As long as it's, not outrageous, you're just going to go. So, but you can do what you want. You can watch TV when you want. You can do this. And we were still in the hotel for the conference at the time. And I was amazed. But that didn't really hit me because, I still had some freedom there when I was, out in the conference rooms playing with all the other children. When it really hit me was when we got home. And I just couldn't believe the freedom I had. I was like, wow, I can do anything I want. And I felt truly, truly free. And I just thought to myself, wow, this is amazing. I'm free. And I could do whatever I wanted. I could do whatever I wanted. Now, and then I had a passion for learning. Not learning, okay, I'm not going to sit down and I'm going to learn how to spell. It's not what I did. You learn them through experiences. I go on the internet every single day. I'm sure a lot of you do. And I was amazed at how, see, what happened is that I have an interest, and I'd researched that interest to hell. And I'd researched it very much, and I'd learn as much as I could about it. And you may think, oh, well, that's just what school is. But when you really have a passion for something, you can see it, you can tell. Because when you're just getting lectured and told what it is rather than actually learning, the difference is phenomenal. I can't say this word today. Yeah, sometimes I can't say the word. So, can't say the word. So, the difference is unbelievable. That what I can say today.
I never went to school, but I was strictly homeschooled for the first like 2 years, and it didn't work. I sucked, and I didn't really have any interest in any of it. I can remember like supposed to be doing like this big test thing, and instead I was playing Power Rangers in the room over in the corner, trying to hide from the school world. And then we went, similar to Neil's experience, we went to a conference. This one was called Life Rocks, and we went to it, and afterwards, like, it wasn't in the hotel room, but when we got home, my mom and dad were kind of, they didn't really say it, but they kind of like were like, we're going to try and be a little bit more free with how we do things. And then I didn't really have any sort of like schoolwork, but we never really went full on school. We still really haven't, but it's much much more free than it was then. And I very similar to Neil, I love learning and I love researching things, and I genuinely have a passion to learn things that I'm interested in, like, and I can do all of that because I have the freedom to do it. I don't know why, but when you're forced to do something, it makes you don't have any interest in it at all.
Delilah, do you want to talk about your schooling experience?
Okay. Well, I went to kindergarten. That was basically it. My brother went to first grade, and he didn't really like it. All that he wanted to learn was history. And for me, homeschooling has been an amazing experience because I got to be me. I got to learn what I wanted to learn, and I'm grateful for that. Went into like cooperatives and homeschool co-ops. One of them sort of dive bombed, and then the other one is still here that I'm now part of. And answering to the question in the answering that question in the comments from the audience. Is that okay? Well, I kind of want to be a robotics engineer. Anyway, moving on.
So the question that Delilah just answered was, do you have a plan for your life? Before I answer my question, I just wanted to add a little thing onto my schooling experience. I'm currently in a Sudbury school. I am not unschooled anymore, and I could not be happier because I get to socialize every single day, and I get to talk every single day. I get to debate every single day, and that is amazingly fun and awesome. So do I have a plan for my life? Well, not really. Other than the fact is, I think I do. I might want to go to college. I'm not sure. College, it kind of is the if I'm mistaken, it kind of is the same as school, but that getting that degree is insane. It's important. It's not, it's definitely not the only thing. No, but it can be very important in a very large amount of professions, because even if that degree means nothing, I swear that degree can mean absolutely nothing. It can be you can have a degree on, I don't know, some relevant stupid degree, and then you can work on another job that's completely irrelevant to that degree. Just the name, that degree there, that itself helps a huge amount. Again, I'm not sure. See, I have different interests coming and going. So, I'm kind of interested in nutritional science, but oh my God, it's pretty complicated, and every day I research, I'm pretty freaking confused every single day. And I'm like, but I've never seen that before. So, and psychology, I know I've said for a while I was very interested in psychology, but that started to wane away. I think I might still be interested in it, but I want to do some sort. I'm sure what you mean by, do you have a plan? That might be, what job do you want? Well, it may not be a job. I want to stand for something. I want to be an activist for something. I want to stand for something. I want to be able to stand for something. I want to make a difference. And honestly, if that's what I want to do, and if I have to work at McDonald's to do it, just enough money to live and have a basic internet connection, I will do that, so that that's not ideal, by the way. I would live in a mansion and I would be the richest person on planet Earth. That would be ideal. But this is what I want to have happen. I have priorities. And one of the priorities is, no biggie, I want to change the world. I know everybody wants to change the world, but I want to see what I can do. And hopefully I can do that.
I want to answer the question about, do I have a plan for my future? I don't have a specific idea. I think I'm still a little bit on the young side for thinking about that, because that's kind of a very broad decision. But probably something to do with music or computer science, because those are the two things I find most interesting. And about maybe going to college, I am definitely not going to college, because for the two things that I would like to study, I don't want to pay money to learn from a school.
I will also answer the question, plan for life. I know the general direction that my life is going to go, but it's, you can't really plan your life. You have goals and you have idea of what you're going to do, but kind of just have to go with the flow. So I know I'm interested in photography, so I'm probably going to do something with that. But I also really like math, and I'm starting to learn more and more math. I'm teaching myself. I started not too long ago, so I'm still pretty early on. I enjoy it, so I might look into what I can do with that. And for college, I kind of want to go to college. I don't know what I'll get a degree in, but just knowing that I have a degree will give me some comfort, because if I have a degree, then it doesn't matter that maybe I don't have a GED or I don't have a high school diploma. If I have a degree, it doesn't matter. So there is that. And we have this Florida prepaid plan, so I can go to college at some school in Florida. So I kind of want to go to college. But after that, I don't really know. I know what I want to do, but then it's just figuring it out. I know I'll figure it out, but you just have to do what you want.
I guess my plan, my interests are, I guess my passions are, to sum it up, it's how to optimize your health, how to optimize your brain functions, how to use your body. And in school, that definitely wasn't taught to me because I had to sit down for hours and hours at a time every day. And I never really learned how to use my body. And up until it was last year, I started to, go to the gym more. And I was, I was like activating all the muscles that I hadn't even known existed. Like, how do I even use my back muscles? Like, what is this? And it started to escalate to how do we use our bodies in the highest degree? Like, how can we use our brains? How do we increase our intelligence? How do we increase our emotional resilience? How do we optimize our stress? And how do we focus and learn to stick with something and see a project through? And so I'm very interested in the study of that. And one of the ways that I want to help people is through music, because music does affect the brain and the body to a very high degree. And you can change, and based on what kinds of frequencies you use, it changes the structure of your body. It changes the vibration of your body. And that affects your mood, that affects your focus, that affects your sleep cycles. So I'd really like to help people do that. And another term for it I just learned is bioenergetics. It's from what I know, it's a similar concept as chi, except I think it's more grounded in science. And it's all about just, being able to use your body to its fullest potential. And so I want to help people pretty much be smarter. And that was kind of, that public school didn't really help in that endeavor. And that's one of the reasons why I think I'm so passionate about it. It's because I didn't feel like my brain was really being worked, not because the curriculum wasn't challenging, but because I wasn't interested in it. And I felt like I was attacked by the onslaught of my emotions and my stress every day, to the point where I couldn't function. I couldn't be around people, and no one was reaching out for me. Very, very little people reached out to me. There was one teacher, and this is the main reason why I don't regret going to public school, is because I met a teacher who took me under her wing, and she brought me into her family and gave me a second home. And to this day, her two sons are my best friends. So that's the reason why I don't regret my public education experience. But yeah, I want to help people be able to use their brains, because I feel like my creative potential in my body wasn't being used for 15 years or however many years. So I guess we're going to take a break right now, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
But before we go, Delilah, do you want to say anything about what you're planning for the future, or?
Yeah.
Cool.
I kind of plan to go to college so that I can just get my degree to become a robotics engineer. And then I could move on to be a robotics engineer, or just slowly work my way up until I become one. That's basically, well, there's more to it, but the story will be much longer. Don't you dare. Okay. So I'm just shortening it.
So after the break, I don't know if anyone else wants to talk about it, but I definitely want to talk about what we think about college and the role college plays in our society. So, but that will be all after the break. So, goodbye.
When the world thinks about protecting children, it seems like a lot of adults think we mostly need protection from ourselves. I keep hearing adults say that the world is a scary, broken place, and I know my family protects me from a lot of scary things, but my mind isn't one of those scary, broken things. I imagine that even though I need protecting, I also need to learn how to make decisions that I can live with, and decisions that bring me closer to the goals I set for myself. And don't worry, this isn't me complaining about why I hate school, even though that point is pretty good too. This is about my right as a child to be truly involved in the decisions that have to do with what I learn and how I learn it. Many adults see children like a blank slate, a coding sandbox, if you will, that can be filled with any command adults see fit, especially when it comes to learning. And even though adults live with us, most of them still believe that we don't start learning until we go to school. Even though you watch us learn how to walk without being taught, and even though you're constantly astonished by our capacity to understand and apply information really early on in our lives, you adults still believe that the best way for us to learn is to put us in groups inside classes, tell us what to learn, for how long, and then force us to show you that we've learned through testing. As time goes on, a simulated environment starts taking priority over our natural learning process. Eventually, adults successfully transition children from our spirit of inquiry to something that makes more sense to you and far less sense to me. Then, when I do what I'm intended to do, which is to follow my interests while resisting pressure to sit still and fall in line, you call it misbehaving, and we get punished for not showing up in ways that are more convenient for the adults around us. Suddenly, we hold the responsibility of getting smart, getting jobs our parents want to brag about, and becoming an asset that makes people proud. Making people proud is cool and all, but I need to be able to say that I truly am proud of myself, and that I understand what I need in order to achieve my life goals, not yours. I, like all children, deserve to practice being in charge of my own life. And I get that I can't be in charge of all of it now, and I don't want to be. But I do feel ready to be in charge of my learning, which just means that my opinion should influence my parents' decision on anything that has to do with what I learn and how I learn it. My choice, their support. My ideas, their ability to help me find resources. And you know something? That design may or may not include school, but the point is that I'm an active participant in that decision. And when I am unruly, it may just be because your rules force me to make myself smaller, and to fit into what you need, which leaves me feeling like I have no choices, no power. And when people feel powerless, some of them push back. And that pushback is often an opportunity to learn what's happening with a child, not an opportunity to punish them so that they don't express their feelings the next time they feel that way. The notion that children are unable to develop useful skills in life without adults dictating every move is absurd. I am a person, not a chess piece, not an end result, not an experiment that a system should have access to. I am to be valued, not to be devalued by having things built upon me without my permission, much less my input. Maybe we need protection from scary, broken ideas of how we should behave and what we should learn. And maybe, if we acted like teammates instead of rivals, vying for high test scores and our teachers' attention, we could show more adults that self-directed education, the kind that centers people and not scores, is a really great way for children and their parents to live together. Want to learn more about self-directed education? Check out the Alliance for Self-Directed Education at self-directed.org.
So I hope you enjoyed the break video. It was definitely interesting, but right now we are going to talk about college and the role college plays in our society today and what we can do to improve it and what flaws or good things we can point out. And honestly, for me, college isn't as much the problem, not a problem, but as much the deal as the role it plays in our society. So who wants to start this conversation?
I guess,
Sorry, you can
or someone else.
go. You can go, Delilah.
Okay, thanks. College. Well, I kind of have to go because I can't just go and be a robotics engineer. Um, this is supposed to be me thinking out loud for the rest of anyone. Anyone.
College, it's a lot of people do it because they just want the degree, of course. My best friend, he's one of those people that is really good at getting through the system, but he's good at getting through the system, but he recognizes that a lot of it really is just a lot of bull crap, basically. He said that like right after high school, he was in high honors. He went to college right after high school, got his 4-year degree, and he said most of it was completely useless. And I know many people who have had that same experience. My sister, my old coworker, pretty much anyone who's gotten a 4-year degree that I know has said that most of it is useless crap. And very little of it actually pertains to what they want to do. I think college as it is right now, there's a lot of requirements that, again, like public school is, it doesn't hold our interest yet. It's required to get to complete the program. And I think what we could do is learn to personalize the curriculum. I think that's ultimately the future. We'll learn how to personalize it for each and every individual. That way people can, do what they want, and also what they need to do to understand their field, but mainly what they want to do, what they're drawn to do.
So for me, college, the problem I see, because this is called youth on education, but let's be honest here and cut the crap. We're pointing out a lot of flaws in the system. So, which is, on education, of course. I'm not saying this title is misleading. Of course it isn't. This is youth on education. But what we're doing is, pointing out the flaws in education. That's what we've been doing for the majority of the show. So I think the biggest flaw with college is that the role it plays in our society. And unfortunately, it's a very tricky subject because on one hand, you have to go through all this crap, like you just said, Dustin, all this crap that you don't need to learn just waste so many years of your life. And of course, you will learn some things. But the thing is, you're just learning so much stuff, and you're just wasting so much time. And then finally, you can start to learn. You can start to do your passion. You can start your job. But the problem is that that's the side of college where you should. This is the problem with college. A big problem. Obviously, I think one of the biggest problems is that it costs money to go to college. A lot of people can't afford it, and if they can, and when they do go, they'll be paying off debt for the rest of their lives. And so it's that. Now I'm going to play the devil's advocate that you should. It's hard for employers, to go and see, okay, this person can do this. Let me do like a really long interview to see if this person can do this, if they have the intelligence, do this and this and this and this. When they can just look and say, okay, this person has a degree, even if it's not the degree I'm looking for, I can tell they have the discipline, they have the intelligence, or heck, if it's the degree that involves the job that they're applying for, you can say, oh, well, I know this person is going to be good because they spent this on studying it. They have the degree, the stamp of approval, if you will. So it's mainly less of a problem where, oh, this is something we can change. It's more of a, especially in a free market where we can't just tell companies, that hire people that don't go to college. It's a free society, free economy. So it's definitely a tricky subject. And I just wanted to say one thing that isn't relevant to this exact thing we're talking about. A lot of people, they say, oh, but I'm a teacher. Oh, I feel this, I feel this. You don't, cause we're not attacking teachers. We're saying that the system should be changed. A lot of teachers agree with this type of mindset. So I know some teachers will feel offended that we're attacking them, or they'll feel bad. Just, no. We're just saying that the system needs to be changed. And in fact, you can do some more than a lot of other people to help.
I think college is something that is way, way overrated. Like, I think if you want to be a doctor, yeah, you have to go to college for that. But if you want to be someone who works with computers, or someone who wants to have a career in music like me, college is not worth the amount of money it takes. Like, you can learn the things you want to learn on your own for free, or you can pay a lot of money and possibly be in debt for the rest of your life to learn the same things you could learn for free. Now, this does not go for everyone. Everyone isn't capable of learning on their own, and everyone doesn't want to learn on their own, and not all professions. There are some professions that you need to go to college for. But for me personally, I do not think college is necessary.
So, sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, like I'm wondering how would college be designed in the future? Like if we were, because the internet offers so much information now, we don't need to go to college for the things that may have been useful to go for, just years ago. But there's so much information that's on the internet now. It's like, what use could college have in the future,
So, honestly, I am not sure how we could improve college in the future, because it's a tricky thing. And the reason it's a tricky thing, more tricky than regular schooling, education, public schooling, is because you need to the reason you go to get that degree is mainly to show people, hey, as we know, we discussed, it's not as useful as a lot of people think it is. Well, it may be useful in some places. It may not be that useful. It's mainly to get that degree that says, I can do this. I have a degree in this. I have a college appointed degree. That is one of the main reasons people go. I'm not saying this is why you go. I'm saying this is one of the main reasons people go. And the thing is, if you take away that aspect, you kind of take away college as we know it in a way. Because again, it's how people hire. They want to hire. They don't want to spend so much time seeing if this person will be okay in this job. They'd rather get this. It's a very, very hard pain in the ass to get letter of recommendation, if you will. It's a very effective letter of recommendation. I'll definitely give you that. But that's basically what it is. So I feel like that would be, if you want to see college stay, like almost a college how it is, you will need to have some form of testing involved, just to see, not just to say, oh, you get a bad grade, you're bad now, you're stupid, you're dumb. No, just to say that, okay, here's what we can improve on your, then again, this is an idealized college. You can't say that's not realistic, that's not realistic. This is an idealized college. So I think an interesting way to do that would be kind of how self-directed learning would be. But I think we would have, again, for college state the way it is, some tests in there to see if you can handle, if you understand the premise of what you are saying to a level where you can get your degree. And also one thing that needs to change is, again, this is an idealized version of college, the fact that people really want to go to college, they really want to get educated, and they can't, at least want to get educated in that way, they can't because it's out of bounds, out of reach because of the cost. We need to find a way to have, again, it's not realistic. This is an idealized version where we don't have to pay for college, because all everyone should have is a right to this sort of education and this sort of wonderful sort of a letter of recommendation. Yeah, learning should be free. It should be free because learning is an amazing, wonderful thing. And everybody should have access to it in no matter what type of learning it is.
And other countries are already doing that. The society pays for people to go to college for free, at least like to get your basic classes done. And honestly, instead of investing into weapons and war and whatnot, personally, I'd rather use my tax money to educate the citizens in a way that actually educates them in what they want to do. And yeah, other countries are already doing that. The U.S. is behind in that regards, and it's amusing and sad at the same time because it's like, really, we're really not there yet. I don't know. Just I guess the people in power just they direct us in other ways, and it's kind of up to us to raise our voices even louder.
So, sorry, Gavin, were you saying something? Because I was just want to say something because nobody else seemed to be wanting to talk. So, does anybody else want to say anything about this? Does anybody else want to say something about this? Because I was just talking because nobody else seemed like they want to say anything else about this topic. So, does anybody else, Delilah, Gavin, do you want to talk about how you think college should change, could change, how you want it to be, idealized versions?
Well, I think the truth is the problem is less about the college. It's less about college. It's more, it's more about the stigma behind college and the cost. Because I see all too frequently in the media, we get on these people who don't have a college education, but for a lot of people, college education is inaccessible because it's too expensive. So ideally, the price needs to go down significantly or it needs to be free. And the stigma in general needs to go away that college is something that is a requirement, because as we've talked about already on here, it is not. There are many jobs that don't require it. I just feel like for a lot of people, college is just something that you get, is something you do because that's just what you have to do. Less nowadays, but I know like the Gen X generation, like my parents' generation, that was just what you did. You finished high school and then you went to college, and to a certain degree that still applies today, and that needs to go away. So I guess where I'm getting with all this is one or two things needs to happen. College either needs to be accessible to everyone, so there doesn't have to be so these people who can't access college aren't looked down upon, because everyone can get college, or the stigma behind it and the need for college needs to go away, or people need to realize that it's just not necessary. It really should be the former. Like everyone should have access to it. In a perfect society, everyone would have access to it because college isn't a bad thing. It's better than high school. You get a higher degree of education, and it's more what you want to learn. Once you get into the bachelor's and up, you're learning the subject you want to learn as opposed to high school where you're just being forced to learn these broad topics that you probably don't care about. So college is not a bad thing. People just need to have access to it. But that goes without saying. So, yeah.
So Dustin brought up an amazing point. Why in the hell are we funding these irritating wars that we don't give a crap about when we could be funding the future of America and other countries too? I'm not just saying America. I mean, America does have the highest military budget of the world, but I'm not letting you other countries off the hook too. These budgets that we're spending, these budgets that we are passing, they're insane. And I know that people keep thinking that, oh, well, I want to be safe. I want to do this. I want to blah blah blah. The society protects, the military protects us. Blah 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 blah. Was the Iraq War protecting us? Was the war in Vietnam protecting us? No, it was not. The only reason, and my history might be a little messed up, the only reason the war in Vietnam was a thing is because people thought when Vietnam went became a socialist state, all of Asia would become a socialist state, or all of South Asia become a socialist state. So they're like, oh shit, we can't have them becoming a socialist state. It's really? So we just did that to protect our American economical interests. Are you freaking kidding me? That's so messed up. Again, my history might be a little rusty on the Vietnam War, but that's pretty messed up. So and don't forget I think they're called the Viet Cong. So many Vietnamese people, they wanted that. America just went in there and screwed everything up, because the Viet Cong were the people that were basically where America was occupied, but they still wanted Vietnam to become a socialist state. So, and the war in Iraq was.
You're going a little off topic.
Yes.
You should
What I'm saying I'm saying that we should spend a lot more time on education and a lot less time on wars, because we are becoming more and more globalist. Borders are starting to melt away. Whether you like it or not, that is where we are heading. Even if we slow down sometimes, that is where we are heading. And building up militaries so strong so they can destroy us is not good. We should make people smarter, not kill the smart people. We should make people smarter.
And also, as war becomes obsolete, we have to think about how we can invest in the education of our people, because ultimately that's far more powerful than war. War only breeds hate ultimately, but if we educate our people and the people become more just citizens and they become smarter citizens, then everyone creates their own businesses, everyone puts in their creative potential, and then our economic ties in the world become strengthened because our trading abilities are increased tenfold, because people are actually doing what they want to do and selling their crafts, selling their unique ideas. And instead of subscribing to someone else's big company, they start their own. And I think that is a much more powerful force than war anyways. Because if you have economic ties on a country, you have more pull. You can manipulate things from afar. I mean, not saying that should be done, but it's an idea, worth considering. The things that are stronger than war.
So before we move on, Delilah, no, we already talked about the college thing. I think you already said that. So I just forgot. So moving on from the topic of college, what do we think, what do we think we should talk about now? About education, schooling itself. I think we already talked about that. I think I know something that's very interesting. It goes back to the point where people will learn if they're not forced to. So I'm told when I was told once, I believe by more people, but what really hit me once is when I said, this is blah, blah, blah. I told people about unschooling, summer-schooling, freedom, and what it means and how it does this and this and this. And you know what the parents said? They said, but you can do this. You can do all this. You go out and learn on yourself. My kid, they would never do this. They wouldn't do this. Are you kidding me? They wouldn't do this. You would learn. You have the initiative to go out there and learn. My child wouldn't do this. My child wouldn't do this. And the child's freaking sitting right there. And they're not really taking offense or anything. They're just, kind of sitting there. But it's, well, maybe because you haven't given them the opportunity. Really? Are you kidding me right now? You actually think that your child does not want to learn. Your child is a special snowflake that refuses to learn. That's insane. That's absolutely insane. We want to learn, okay? The human race wants to learn. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten to where we are. I know I said that, that's an appeal to nature fallacy. But really, if you look at, but I'm not talking about things you should be looking at now. People want to learn. And you're saying that, they wouldn't do that. Well, that's because you presented them with a system that wants to do nothing but enslave them. So, and you think that the reason they want to rebel from it is because they don't want to learn. I mean, come on, just think about it for 1 second.
I saw a quote that a lot of people think is Albert Einstein, but actually wasn't, is if everyone is smart, I'm probably not getting this right. It's like everyone is smart, but if you judge a fish on its ability to climb a tree, then obviously you're going to think they're stupid. And I think everyone is born capable of learning the same things. Like obviously there are going to be people who excel in different areas, but and obviously there's going to be people who like alternative education doesn't work for them, and like because everyone's different, like not one thing works for everyone other than breathing. And that's kind of why I try not to generalize that if you choose unschooling, then your life will automatically be better, because it won't, because everything doesn't work for everyone. But you can't say this will never work for my kid if you've never even tried it. If they've never even had the freedom to learn on their own, you have no idea how they would handle it. Now, it very well might not work, but until you've tried, you cannot say anything about it.
Yeah, that's true. And some of the stuff you're saying brings up the truth that intelligence, it's not just one simple thing. Like I think a lot of people like to think intelligence is just how quickly you can answer a math question. And that's a problem for a lot of unschoolers, because that's not the case at all. Like someone might not be able to answer a math question or know a scientific fact very well, but they can tell you the ins and outs of like something in history or like some artistic subject. And that's just, wait, okay, lost my train of thought. Oh, shoot.
Kind of like the what's 10 plus 10 thing. Like,
oh yeah, it's the worst thing, like being a unschooler. We've all been there, right? Someone's like, oh, you unschool? Okay, what's 14 times 7? And it's like, What, are you serious? That's ridiculous. It's just that kind of crap. That's awful. Because where was I going? We shouldn't judge intelligence just off of something like that. Crap. I completely lost my train of thought. Someone else stop talking, please.
I broadcast, everyone. That's the problem.
The intelligence thing being like how fast you could answer a question is nothing to do with intelligence, because you think about how the universe has been created. It's over a very, very long period of time in relation to human life. And it's, and the quickness of response, I would describe it more as like wittiness, and also like what the hell's the word? Like when a doctor hits your knee with, the hammer, reflex. It's more like reflex. And that's like one thing that I've struggled with, because I went to public education, and I didn't feel like I learned anything. So when I graduated, I felt like I was stupid, basically. I didn't know anything. And it just, I don't know. Now I'm losing my train of thought.
So, I really feel, I don't want to use the word violated because that's a word that can be used in very harsh situations. So, but I will use it because it does describe the situation. I feel kind of violated from my personal choices when someone says, oh, you're this school, you're not going to learn anything. Okay, answer this question. And they'll quiz me, and they'll continue. And after the quizzing, they'll ask, and I love questions, but even I have my limit where I'm just like, okay, we've talked about this for so long. I'm getting extremely irritated, and I'm ready to stop talking now. And the fact that people think they ask the question, they ask the question, they keep quizzing me, asking the question about what's your plan, what are you going to do about college, this. And how the hell would you feel if, and again, I'm not holding it against them, because again, I love debating, I love talking, but the fact that immediately our stance is questioned, which it should be, every stance that's foreign should be questioned, but so thoroughly, and I can stand up to almost every single question. How would you feel if I did that? Not like, oh, would you feel bad? Would you feel good? No, not that crap, because I said I could handle a debate and I could talk about it. But how would you be able to hold up a debate about your education? Would you be able to stand strong about it? Would you be able for me to pick apart the schooling system and have you argue on each point? And I don't think so. So try to think about that the next time you do that. I'm not saying you shouldn't, because every point should be debated upon and talked about. That's how we learn things. You shouldn't just support my position because just because I say I want to do it. You should not do that, because that's how misinformation spreads. But I'm saying that, do you think that you could stand up to the criticism you're giving me about my system? Could you stand up if I did it to your system? I'm not saying that, hey, who the hell are you? Stop doing that. I'm saying that try to research your side as well. You can find some very interesting things.
I am advanced in history and music and behind in math. So I could talk your head off for 10 hours about the ins and outs of World War II, but I won't necessarily know the most basic math questions off the top of my head. And it makes you feel poorly about yourself when someone asks you like some random question and you can't immediately answer it, or if you try and ask them a question and they just flat out don't answer it. Like, it's one of the things that I hate most about not going to school is how other people that do go to school think of me just because of the way I was educated, because you don't know me. Like, you asked me, I just met you and you asked me some random question about my education and you don't like my answer, so that must mean you know me better than anyone else in the world, and that I'm obviously an uneducated idiot and I need to go to school and learn all the things that are really important. Like, that's wrong. You don't, like, if you want to learn, like, how I was educated and you want to get to know how unschooling and homeschooling and Sudbury schools work, have a conversation with me. Don't make me feel like I'm on a game show where I have to answer the questions or I don't win $1 million.
Do you guys think that experience is more useful than learning from text or just listening to something or any other kind of learning? Like, do you think experience is more useful than that?
Experience, I think in a professional environment or like when you're applying to a job, to a certain extent, yes. I mean, it depends on the job, but one thing that I've heard is that in certain cases with certain jobs, they would rather hire someone who's been interning there for some time and really knows the environment and has gotten to know how it works there than somebody who has no experience, has no work experience, but has like a degree. They'd rather hire the person who has the work experience. So I think if that's where you're going, then yes. I mean, I guess it kind of does apply to life, because I mean, someone could know, a bunch of facts about stuff and know how to answer a bunch of math, like intricate math questions, but they might not know how to socialize well, or they might not know how the world operates, and they don't know how to do that. They don't have street smarts. And so to a certain extent, yes, experience is more important or as important. It's not a bad thing.
Back to the math thing. Math is important to a certain degree in life, but especially kids of the future. Like even now, kids, at least in America, they have a lot of them. I'm not saying everyone. People don't think I'm saying everyone. They have phones, or they have extremely easy access to a phone or device, and they can use a calculator very, very easily. And even in the future, imagine how it is now. Imagine in the future, it's going to be much, much easier. So let's look up. So I have a calculator here. I can look up. Can't see it because screens, but I can type in something, and in half a second, I can know the answer. So I just did, for laughs, I just pressed random buttons. 858 times 5. It's 4,290. So that's pretty cool. And
okay, Tanu, do you have anything else to say?
Yeah, that's pretty cool, and it doesn't require us to waste a bunch of time. Mathematics is important in lots of things, like professions like physics, but it is not necessary for every basic math, I guess, yeah, it is, but it's not necessary for everyday life to spend so much time on it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you pretty much said at the end, but I obviously like a certain level of basic understanding of math is important, because if you don't understand basic math, then you don't know what to do when you get on a calculator, maybe. But that doesn't mean I agree with the absolutely ridiculous amount of advanced math that they force you to do from an early age an early grade in school, that's where they take it too far. Like you're learning, I don't know, when I was in fourth grade, from a really like early grade, at like the age of 10, you're learning pretty advanced math. And I don't agree with that. I think everyone should have a basic understanding, an understanding of arithmetic. You know, I mean, that's just addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, fractions, decimals, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And that's kind of important, but I don't think everyone needs to understand differential calculus or, you know, AP level algebra. That's where school takes it too far. So yeah, I was just going with that. Everyone should have a basic understanding, but some people think you need to understand, everyone needs to understand super advanced math, and which isn't the case.
What I just wanted to correct something. Not correct. I just want to go off something you said really quick, just really quick. At least I think this is what you're trying to mean, is that when you say basic understanding, that doesn't mean you should be able to quiz them on plus this, divide this by this, times this by this. This is what I think you're saying. You should be able to quiz them. That just means that you understand what it is. You understand numbers. You understand how they work, and you understand what it means. It doesn't mean you should, be quizzing them. Okay, that means I can quiz you on your times tables, and I can quiz you on division to be able to know it off the top of your head. So I assume that's
that's pretty much what I meant. I mean, people shouldn't be quizzed in general. That's just a rude thing to do. But I guess, yeah, you're right. Okay, yeah.
You still talking? I think that you should know advanced math because it's really important in everyday life. Well, simple math is good, but it's like you should know like what 12 times 12 is, or 9 times 9. You should learn all your times tables. You should just learn the basic math and all your times tables. And then you can do anything that you want. Then you can go on to advanced math. It's
the people that aren't good at math, or they think they're not good at math, or they've had a bad experience with math, just remember that math is in literally everything in our world. You can learn math from drawing. You can learn math from music. You can learn math from just looking outside, looking at plants, looking at animals, looking at the ocean. Math is just everywhere, and it doesn't have to just be number crunching on a piece of paper. And if you want to understand advanced math concepts, that's getting easier and easier every day, because just Google math GIFs, and it'll show you advanced math concepts with a simple animation. And if you really need to study it, then set up a structured program for yourself. But I mean, we can get through life just on, just with basic math, and we can learn all those things from what's around us. It doesn't have to just be numbers, So fear not. Fear not.
So I personally, in response to Delilah, I don't personally think that you need to, because the thing is, in everyday life, when we're talking about something that you would use in everyday life, you're going to learn it whether you like it or not, to be honest, because everyday life, if you're not going to be able to function there, you're going to learn what you need to function in everyday life. So I don't think you need to sit down and learn certain math concepts, like you were just saying, times tables, unless you absolutely need it in everyday life. And if you do need it in everyday life, you will learn it and you will encounter problems. So I've never encountered, at least that I can remember, a single problem in everyday life that my knowledge of maths could not solve, other than the fact other than the fact when people would quiz me. And I would, most times, I think, get the answer right when it comes to my times tables and addition and subtraction. No one really quizzes me on that because that's fairly simple. It's addition and subtraction. But normally, it's the thing I'm quizzed by random people on the most is, I think, my times tables, maybe division as well. But it's mainly that. That has been the only ever thing that I have slowed down. I'm not going to say failed. I'm not going to say didn't answer. I'm going to say slowed down on. Just think about it. And that is not, and because when you think about it, these people, you memorize your times tables is what you do. And just simply memorize your times tables. And if you say needing for everyday life really, it, again, you're going to learn it through it. So if you do use it, because every life is different for everybody. So because people can apply certain methods to different situations. So it's different for everybody. I'm just trying to go off on a separate tangent from that.
You still do need your times tables, though. It's like they're important because it gives you the key to division, and you can do anything with times tables. If you can create these amazing shapes, and math can take you anywhere you want to go.
Yeah, what I said wasn't really necessarily. Did Delilah freeze? Is that just? Okay, your screen froze for a second. I don't know if that was just for me, but so my point really wasn't it can take you anywhere you want to go. It can do amazing things. Just every single subject can do amazing things. Just because it doesn't need to be applied in that situation, that really wasn't part of what I was saying. But I was saying that everyday life, you don't really need to learn anything for everyday life because you will learn it. I'm not saying, and when I say need to learn, I mean you need to sit down and learn it. You will learn what is necessary and maybe different than somebody else. For everyday life at least, I'm not saying you should pursue nothing you're interested in or nothing to function in society. I'm saying for everyday life, like you said. It doesn't mean they're not useful. They're incredibly useful. Every subject is incredibly useful. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been created in the first place. So every subject is incredibly useful. Just people have different ways of applying those subjects. So nothing, at least from what I've seen, is necessary to function in everyday life because everybody is different for how they function. And I've been told that, and back to the thing where you see people that are in public school and they learn so many more going off of math now, so many more advanced subjects in certain ways, yet their parents still will tell people and tell me that, oh, but my child wouldn't go out and learn these things. So even though you go out and you learn things for everyday life. So education is an interesting topic. It's definitely something that is interesting to cover, especially because no matter what you say, it's one of the most important things in life. I'm not saying it's one of the most important things like you need to sit down and learn it. I'm saying you will learn it whether you like it or not. Learning how to speak is education.
I just want to throw a question out there. What's everyone's opinion on, is it better to learn from necessity, like running into a problem that you don't know how to figure out, so you have to, do some research or ask some questions? Or do you think it should be something prepared ahead of time, like you learn your times tables or whatever before you really apply them in other things? So yeah.
Okay, I think it really depends on the situation because in certain situations you can prepare ahead of time. Like if you sense that just because of who you are, you know you're really into math or you know you're into science, you're going to dedicate more time to learning that. So when you get to the point in which you have a job or you're looking into a job where one of those two subjects or any subject, they're one of those two subjects, like you really need to know a lot in that field, you have dedicated a lot of time to learning that and you'll be prepared for it. And it's not as common as some people might think that there will really be a situation in which you don't know how to handle something, because in most cases, if you're doing something, I guess, like a job, that's the example I'm going to use. If you're applying for it, it's something you're interested in, and you probably have some level of knowledge in that field. And if there comes a time when there's something that you just don't know, you will learn it. That's one of the beauties of life. It's one of the excellent things about how nowadays we have instant access to an infinite source of knowledge is if we want to learn something, we can learn it very quickly. And that's one thing I like. That's one amazing thing, the amazing thing about unschooling is I can never say, oh, I can't learn that. If I feel like, oh, I'm inadequate, I don't know math, or I don't know physics, I don't know chemistry, then I just learn it and I solve that problem. So if you need to learn something out of necessity, then you'll figure it out and it'll be okay.
So I think to answer your question, Dustin, it really depends. So because a problem that I could see happening is you would learn, it's in public schools too. They teach you all this stuff and you use barely any of it to function in the real world. That stuff, like I just said, that stuff the stuff you need to function in everyday life, you're going to learn, okay? Unless you are unfunctionable in everyday life. Because I think the fact that if somebody says, oh, you can't function everyday life without this, that's insane because right now I'm functioning in everyday life. You don't see me going out and not being able to function in everyday life. So nobody should really say you need this to function in everyday life unless they need that to function, unless they're not functioning in everyday life. Because that's a pretty insane thing to say, considering if you are functioning in everyday life, if you're able to function without any large difficulties or problems. But I think that's a very great way to learn is seeing an obstacle and overcoming it. But premeditated learning for certain things is very beneficial. It's great. It can help you in a lot of ways. It can also, I think another way other than just, premeditated learning to overcome an obstacle and learning it while overcoming an obstacle is, when you're learning your passion, you're learning what you have interest in, it takes on a whole new form. It's not just learn to overcome an obstacle. You're just having so much fun learning that itself. And loving to learn is probably the biggest tool to help you learn.
Hey, Martin, you haven't said anything in a while.
I don't know. For what you said, Dustin, I think it all depends. I don't really have a particularly strong opinion on it.
One example would be, should you teach your child at a young age to read, or should you let them learn how to read when they need to, when they feel they're ready, when they feel like they want to do something involving reading, but they don't know how to read, so they learn.
So, sorry, Martin, you can go. Yeah.
We all have opinions on this.
I think depends. I mean, I don't think you should ever force someone to do anything unless it's absolutely necessary, because I feel freedom of choice is very, very important. But I think, I don't know, I guess it really depends. I think probably learning when they're ready, like when they have the motivation to. If they want to learn on their own, then great. But like if they want help, then I would probably help them, like, and teach them. And I would hope anyone else would. But I don't really think that anyone should be forced to learn something if they're not ready to learn it.
So again, the biggest thing I'll always say is it depends. Every child is different. So every child is different. It depends. Some maybe should, some shouldn't. I personally, when I was homeschooled and I wasn't unschooled or Sudbury schooled, that's when I learned to read. And I'll be the first to say that my homeschooling, because it was for a very short time, it was very effective for that. I learned to read. I can read very effectively. And it was for a short time too. I'm not saying homeschooling is more, I absolutely despised and hated the whole concept of sitting down and doing work, other than the fact that, other than I wasn't actually learning because I was learning. So it depends. And when it comes down to it, either for unschooling, the parent should be there. Maybe could say, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? Go to help them. But don't doubt yourself, because if you doubt yourself, you're not going to learn it, okay? You're not going to learn it if you doubt yourself. You need to go out there. You need to learn it, because that's happening in schools too. They're going out there and learning it too. You're just doing the exact same thing that they're doing. You're just not being forced to. So, yeah, again, it all depends. And again, and back to the thing about everyday life, reading is something, in everyday life you're going to normally, I said normally because, everyday life is different for everybody. Normally you're going to use, so people, you are going to learn that. Whether you like it or not, you're going to learn it. It just depends when you learn it and when you'd like to and when it will be best for you.
Okay, so I guess the answer ultimately is it depends, but I personally feel like you should have the ability to read at a young age, but I know that just doesn't work for everybody. My mom and I have gotten into arguments about this because we disagree. And mainly that stems from because it is something you're going to be using every single day. It's not like, an arbitrary math question where, oh no, if at the age of 10 you can't answer, some random math question like, oh, like boo-hoo, whatever. You're going to be reading every single day, whether you like it or not. So I feel like that's one of those things that kind of should be introduced into a child's life at a younger age, so they're not 10 years old and not knowing how to read, because that is something that happens in the unschooled community. And that's probably like the only issue I have with the unschooled community. Most things can be taught anytime and should come independently and freely to the child when they're ready. And to a certain degree, that applies with reading, but reading should certainly have a priority because it's reading. You're going to be reading. Because there are unschooled kids who are 8 years old, 10, don't know how to read. They will eventually learn how to read, but it's inconvenient if they're, they can speak full sentences, but they can't read. And I don't think that's right. So reading, that is the one thing that I feel there should be a little bit of, that should be encouraged and kind of introduced into the child's life at a young age. And they should know how to read. I think that's what I'm getting at. But it does depend, because there are plenty of kids where it doesn't work. Some kids, it takes more time. And the thought of being forced to read scares them away from it. That happened to my sister in school. So, because we were both in school at a young age, so she was in second grade, she had interest for reading, and then the reading FCAT came around, and she locked down. So there are plenty of kids in school who just, they struggle with reading in their early grades because they just weren't meant to learn that as quickly. Some plenty do just fine. I learned to read in school, so I was reading by like the first grade or before, and I was just fine. So I guess it does depend. It should have higher priority, but if the child is struggling and needs their time, then they need time. But it should be introduced early and it should be taught. But that's just my opinion. Other people think differently.
For me personally, when I was like strictly homeschooled, the problem that I had was reading, actually. I could read basic words, but I absolutely hated the way I was taught. And later on, after unschooling, like we decided we were going to unschool, I think I just turned 7, and I had the Marvel Comics encyclopedia, and that was like, okay, I want to read this because I want to know the information about my favorite superheroes. So I learned how to read really well from reading the like 400-page Marvel Comics encyclopedia over and over again.
So just another quick thing in response to you, Gavin. It's reading. It's I think instead of using the word encouraged, what I would personally use is, again, I think I agree with you for the most part, but a word that I would use is because again, children's brains, they aren't that as developed as a 25-year-old's brain. So therefore, I think what we should do is they should be guided, because children, they can be guided. People think of schooling as guiding, and people think of parents as guiding. But the way we treat children now, it's not guiding, okay? It's forcing. So don't confuse the two. Guiding is encouraging you in saying, would you like to, if they push back, let them push back, because they're going to stay pushed back if you keep pushing. That's why I think subway school is so great, because they're surrounded by people that their peers that ask them to and say you should, and even the staff members are their peers. So I think that is the optimal way. So we need to finish up pretty quick. So let's get this show on the road. I don't know if I think Dustin and Delilah didn't talk. So.
No, it was just that was pretty much all I wanted to say. Yeah, I think that, yeah, whatever. It's up for thought. Hopefully this has been food for thought. I guess we'll give our closing thoughts now.
I think Delilah hasn't said anything though, so.
Well, about education, if your child isn't doing very well, look and see. Because if your child doesn't want to go to school, just don't. I don't know. Do what feels right to them. Ask them if they don't want to go to school. But wait, no, scrap that. Anyway, everyone, bye-bye.
I think education is super important. So, yeah, there you go. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, are we? Okay. Bye.
Bye.
If we want to change the world, we must first change the media. Mainstream media exists for the purposes of indoctrination and manipulation of public perception. The world of free and independent media is growing, and with the upsurge in information now available in the public domain, it has never been easier to access free and independent media. The exploration of this information resulted in an experimental project which would provide a fully supported space for researchers, whistleblowers, and seekers of all kinds to express themselves and educate the world. On the 1st of January 2015, Conscious Consumer Network was launched to the world. Nobody thought we would make it this far, but CCN is the longest running free and independent media network of its kind. CCN is a unique collaboration of hearts and souls, bringing you information from different perspectives to educate and inform. Since we started CCN, we have had only one desire, the pursuit of a free, fair, just, sustainable world, and this has not changed. Having overcome many challenges over the last 2 years, CCN is here to stay, and we've got great things lined up for 2017. Help keep CCN on the air by supporting the 2017 Network Support Fund.